Page 2, we got P function here and Q. The question wants us to find Q circle P, it's the composition of Q and P, and write the domain of this composition in interval notation. So here Q of Px is simply plug P into Q, or let me write here Q of P. P is given x squared minus 9x. Okay, this is Q. And x squared minus 9x is a polynomial, so there is no restriction in domain. The domain would be all real numbers, so we don't have any restrictions here. Move on. Q of input, look at here, Q of input is 1 over input minus 10. So Q of this is 1 over this x squared minus 9x input minus 10. And that's it. Now we need to find the domain, and we have rational functions, so bottom cannot be 0. For the domain, so x squared minus 9x minus 10 cannot be 0. Let's look at where this is 0. We can factor x minus 10, x plus 1, x equals 10, negative 1. So 1 over x squared minus 9x minus 10, and domain of the composite function is, there is no restriction earlier, just from this, cannot be 10, cannot be negative 1. So it's a number line. So 10 is not in the domain, negative 1 not in the domain. So negative infinity through negative 1, negative 1 through 10, and 10 through infinity. In part 4, same thing, we have f and g. We need to find f of circle gx, means f of gx. So pretty much plug in g into f. F of gx is given 9 over x squared minus 16. And they also ask us to find the domain. So let's look at the restriction here. This input, the bottom cannot be 0. So x squared minus 16 is 0 where? At 16, so that's plus minus 4. That means x cannot be equal to this. Okay, in fact, that's the restriction coming from here. Now keep on working. So f of input, now this one is kind of input. F of input is, look at here, f of input is x over x minus 1. Input over input minus 1. So this is, f of input is input over input minus 1. We can simplify these two, and we can simplify. The top is 9 over x squared minus 16. This division into multiplication, when we combine these two fractions, then we can flip here. Let me combine here. 9 over x squared minus 16 minus 1. This is a fraction, so we need to multiply the second fraction by x squared minus 16 over x squared minus 16 to make the same denominator, so that x squared minus 16 is the common denominator. That leaves 9 minus 1. Now we need to distribute negative 1. X squared minus minus plus 16. 9 plus 16 is 25 minus x squared over x squared minus 16. So that is on the bottom, this fraction, 25 minus x squared over x squared minus 16. And when we change this division into multiplication, then this flips. So we get x squared minus 16 on the top, 25 minus x squared on the bottom. These two cancel collectively. Okay, as a block. That leaves 9 over 25 minus x squared. We already know x cannot be equal to plus minus 4. And here, look at 25 minus x squared. When x is plus or minus 5, that becomes 0. Same thing like x squared minus 16. We can do the same work, but just from this we can see from the previous line, x cannot be equal to plus minus 4. And from here, we also see that x cannot be equal to plus minus 5. So the domain is now all reals except plus 4 minus 4, plus 4 minus 4, 5, negative 5. So in interval notation, domain of the composite function is negative infinity through negative 5, negative 5 through negative 4, negative 4 through 4, 4 through 5, and 5 through infinity. Final.